The PlayStation Vita was a criminally underrated handheld gaming console that you could understandably want to pick up and experience today, and in this video I want to tell you exactly what you need to know when it comes to picking one of these things up and enjoying it today. What I'm going to recommend you guys do now is go ahead and pick up your phone, pull up Notepad, go ahead and grab a pen and paper and jot down these points so you know exactly what you want to grab when it comes to picking up the items for your PlayStation Vita. But let's start out with something real simple and easy. What do you pick up when you grab any new device with a screen? Well, unless you're a psychopath, you're going to grab a screen protector for it. I prefer to pick up a glass screen protector, and luckily Amazon comes in clutch with this combo that includes a glass screen protector if you're a front, and with the back of the PlayStation Vita being this weird touchpad system, it includes a plastic one for the back. Go ahead and grab you a nice screen protector set. I'm going to link mine in the description if you want to grab it, so you can rest assured knowing that your PS Vita is nice and protected for use. If you want to grab a case, you can find one that suits you as well. But before you grab that case, let's talk about the actual models of the PlayStation Vita. There's two that you need to be aware of. First off, there's the PlayStation Vita 1000, which is the launch edition, and then there's the one I'm holding in my hand, the PlayStation Vita 2000, which was the slim variant.
Your ring is getting loose there, Dad. Are you losing weight?
The slim variant came in a variety of these really fun colors that were a Japanese exclusive for their market, but rest assured knowing that you can pick these up today and they'll work region free, no problem here stateside. But when it comes to these two different models, there's two main differences that you need to be aware of. First off, with the launch edition, the 1000 model, it came with this really nice OLED display, which was incredibly advanced for the time. I mean, really, we're talking back in 2012. What devices do you know that were coming out with OLED display? These gave really nice, sharp, bright, accurate colors, and they looked great. Using one today seems to be perfectly fine. However, you'll notice that if the screen goes completely black, you'll have some splotches here on the screen. I've owned quite a few launch edition PlayStation Vita models, and a few of them have had this issue, but in normal gameplay you won't notice this at all. It's apparently normal for the aging of these old OLED displays, but as far as gameplay goes, seems to be perfectly fine. When it comes to the PlayStation Vita Slim 2000 models display, it's perfectly fine for me. It gets bright, it's nice and sharp, and I really have no complaints with the display. I don't really feel like I'm missing out on anything when it comes to the display on the Slim model, so if you're worried about that, it's perfectly cool. Don't worry about it. That shouldn't be a deciding factor. However, there's one more key importance that might be a deciding factor, and that's the fact that the Slim model came with 1 GB of internal storage. This was huge because at the launch of the PlayStation Vita, it came with these proprietary memory cards. This was so dumb, and it was possibly one of the biggest detriments to the system that made it really expensive. The PlayStation Vita was a pretty modern console for its time. It supported software updates, game updates, save data, and all of this stuff takes up storage on your device, which if you bought the launch edition, you don't have any storage on the device. If you're going to pick up the original model PlayStation Vita, the launch model with the OLED display, you're going to have to pick up one of the original PlayStation Vita memory cards. That's like non-disputable. That's mandatory. This is going to make your purchase a little more expensive and a little more limited on options to start out with. I will recommend, if you are going to go this route, pick up the cheapest storage option available, because it's going to come into play when we get into the next part of this video. The next part of this video being that you're going to want to pick up an SD to Vita memory card adapter and a micro SD memory card. I'm sure you have a device laying around the house that has a micro SD card slot, so you probably have a micro SD card. If you don't, they're stupid cheap for the amount of storage you can get now. And the other stupidly cheap thing you can get is an SD to Vita card adapter. This is going to allow you to pop in a micro SD card storage option to your PlayStation Vita, slide it right in there, and use it as God intended. This should have been an option from the launch. This is something Sony didn't allow you to do initially, but with this being a discontinued platform, you can basically do whatever you want with it. This allows you to use your Vita without any worry of having to do system updates, game updates, and you can just store as many games as you want down on the platform. I'm using a 100 GB SD card, and I can have as many games as I want on my handheld platform. So you got your screen protector, your PS Vita's protected. You got your SD to Vita card adapter, you have all the storage you could want on your PlayStation Vita. So now the next logical step in this process is that you're going to want to jailbreak your PlayStation Vita. Now don't panic if you've never done this on your devices. It's extremely easy. It's just going to take you about 5 minutes, and I am going to link the video that I use down in the description. I mean, literally, they do the setup process extremely easy for you. It literally took me about 5 minutes to get this thing going, and it was very simple. This allows you to do whatever you want with your console. First off, you're gonna need it to run the micro SD card. I should maybe mention that earlier. If you put in your SD to Vita card adapter in this thing by default with it running the regular system software, it won't recognize it or it won't allow you to use it. But after you jailbreak it, you can basically do whatever you want. You can install SD to Vita right off of the rip and it'll just work perfectly fine as if you had a factory memory card in here. Second off, like I previously mentioned, it lets you do whatever you want with the PlayStation Vita. For example, I got these weird homebrew apps, like I got this weird Pokemon Go thing going on here. I got Quake on here. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas running on this thing, which is insane. Sony didn't put this on the Vita themselves. You do this through custom firmware. And then I have backups of all of my legitimately owned PlayStation Vita games right here on here, all installed on the device, ready to go. There's even this There's even this nifty little homebrew app that you can install after you've put custom firmware on your PlayStation Vita that allows you to easily download any backups of your legitimately owned PlayStation Vita games with a click of a button. Look at here, I'm loading this program up. I have a list of all of my legitimately owned PlayStation Vita games, and I can just download them. Super easy. Click the button. Boom. While we're on the subject of proprietary things, Sony had their own computer software when it came to plugging this thing up to a computer and downloading things like video files or music. I mean, you could use this thing as a multimedia content device, but you had to go through their software on your PC to do it, which was very cumbersome. It was a pain in the ass, and obviously it puts on the added DRM of having to connect to their shit. When you install custom firmware, it gives you the ability to use things like this Vita Shell app here, which you can install by default when you're putting on the custom firmware, so it's super simple. You just open up this application that I installed, you plug it into your computer, and it basically just lets you drag and drop files super easy. If you've owned a PSP or literally any cell phone, Android device, you just plug your computer in and drag and drop the files. It works exactly the same way. So we've talked about the essentials when it comes to setting up your PlayStation Vita. We've talked about the things you can do with a modded PS Vita. But one thing you may not be aware of is that after you've modded your PlayStation Vita, you can put something on it called Adrenaline. This essentially puts PSP software on your PlayStation Vita. This gives you two consoles in one. Let me show you what this does. I'm going to start the app up here and I'm just going to talk about it after it loads up. This puts PSP software onto your PlayStation Vita. This allows you to literally use your PlayStation Vita as a PSP without the ability to put UMDs in, obviously. But you can drag and drop files on your PlayStation Vita as if you were dragging and dropping them onto a PSP. I honestly don't know why the hell Sony didn't implement this themselves. I mean, it's literally the PlayStation portable software on the PS Vita, and it works as if it was OEM. I mean, there's no hiccups or glitches with this. If you want to play PSP games on your PlayStation Vita, you have access to the entire library. You want to play PS1 classics, whether that's through the PS Vita software or the PSP software, you can do that. You want the nostalgia of going into the PSP software and changing your theme color for whatever reason? You can do that. See, it's working, so you know I'm not lying. So maybe at some point you were on the fence of, should I pick up a PlayStation Vita or should I just pick up a PSP? Well, here's your answer, dude. You just pick up a PlayStation Vita and you get the best of both worlds. It just works. Oh, I really wanted a PSP. Now I'm sick of having a PSP. So I'm gonna double tap the PlayStation button, close the app out, and now I got a PS Vita again. You also have the ability of using dual analog sticks in PSP games, just like Sony did when they re-released PSP games for the PlayStation Vita. And you can also use the touchpad on the back. You can map certain controls to whatever you want to do. That's getting a little more technical, but the option is there. The PSP has a wealth of good content available to it, and hopefully I just made the setup process of it a little more easier for you. I almost forgot to mention that the Slim model just uses a basic micro SD, as to where if you're picking up an original, you have to buy its very specific charging cable for the launch edition. That's about all I got. Enjoy your consoles. See you on the next one. Spin C. Later. Oh man, I gotta really...